Hello friends, and welcome back to Picture Astrology in this series of planets through various houses for different ascendant. Today we will talk about the effects of Jupiter in the second house for a Scorpio ascendant. And when the ascendant is Scorpio, the second house contains the sign of Sagittarius. So Jupiter will be in the sign of Sagittarius and the ascendant will be Scorpio. And we will learn about all the effects of this placement in next few minutes. So we have a horoscope with Scorpio ascendant, and Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac. Now when the ascendant is Scorpio, Jupiter becomes a highly auspicious planet for this ascendant or rising sign. And the reason is, number one, Jupiter is a natural benefic. So naturally, Jupiter is a very positive planet. And Jupiter is Lord of Sagittarius, which falls into the second house, and Pisces sign. Pisces falls into the 5th house. So Jupiter becomes Lord of 2nd and 5th. Now 5th house is known as a trine house. It is a very positive house. Any planet who becomes Lord of any of the trines becomes a functional benefic. And second house is a neutral house as such. So lordship of second house doesn't change the behavior of a planet. So Jupiter is functionally benefic as well as naturally benefic. And on top of it, Scorpio is lorded by Mars. And Mars and Jupiter are great friends. They get along very well. So in this case, Jupiter is fully equipped to give benefic results to the person who has this horoscope. And therefore, we will see that this one placement of Jupiter can impart many great qualities to individual. However, there are few issues also which this placement causes. We will see each of them one by one. Now, before we begin our analysis, let's see what all houses this placement is going to affect. Now, Jupiter, as we know, is the Lord of sign of Sagittarius and in the second house. It is also Lord of the sign of Pisces, which is the 12th house. So both of these houses are directly affected by this placement. In Vedic astrology, Jupiter has some special aspect or some houses on which Jupiter looks at directly. So first of all, Jupiter looks at 5th house from itself, which would fall into the 6th house. And 6th house, as you probably know, is generally known as a negative house. It is the house of your enemies. It is the house which shows your obstacles. And an auspicious aspect of Jupiter on this house will increase some of those significations. And we'll see the exact effect in few minutes. Jupiter will also affect or directly aspect the 7th house from itself, which is the 8th house. 8th house is another difficult house to predict. It is the house of your longevity. It is the house of many hidden and occult things. So we will see how those areas are affected by this Jupiter. And finally, Jupiter will aspect the 9th house from itself, which is an all important 10th house of your work life, your biological father, etc. So we will also look into the effects of this house placement. So for a quick reference, I have listed all the areas of life which are directly affected by this one placement, and you see there are so many different things one planet can affect, and that makes the job of an astrologer that much more complex. But we will look into each of them one by one. So let's begin by looking at the second house affairs. And the first thing which comes into mind, obviously, when you talk about second house is that it is the house of your family of birth. It shows the kind of food you love, the kind of voice you have, and also the wealth you accumulate in life. Now, In this second house, we have planet Jupiter, which is in its own sign, and in fact it's in the Mool Trikon sign, which further dignifies this planet, and it is one of the biggest benefic. And what does this benefic planet look like? It is a large gaseous planet. It is one of the largest planet in our solar system. So generally, people with this combination are born in a big family. They have a lot of family members. Now what it means is that in the Eastern culture, if you're looking at horoscope somewhere from the Eastern culture, it could mean the person lives in a joint family. But if you're looking for somebody from the Western culture, it could simply mean that the extended family is very close. People visit very often. Jupiter represents your grandparents. So if you are in Eastern culture, your grandparents might be living with you. But for somebody in the Western culture, it could be that grandparents' home is close by and they visit very often. In any case, the person born with this placement gets love from a large members of the family, and it definitely includes grandparents because Jupiter signifies them explicitly. Jupiter also shows old legacies. So if you're born with this kind of placement, it is very likely that the home you are born in would be your ancestral home, or there may be many things from generations which are kept very closely by the family, and they are passed on from generations to generation, and they cherish them a lot. Jupiter is the placement, or Jupiter is the planet of bliss. It is the satisfaction which you can derive from something. So these people, they value their family a lot. And since Jupiter is a large gaseous planet, they would talk a lot also, and they would talk very highly about themselves, about their family. And this is one thing, people can think them to have some kind of an attitude, or sometimes even a superiority complex if Mars is not well placed. But they would just do it naturally. They would think and talk very highly about themselves, about their family, and they will always try to be ethical. When they speak, they will speak as if they are speaking from a higher moral point. Now, remember, this Jupiter should not be with Rahu, because then the interpretation could be a little bit different. But overall, for the second house related stuff, and yes, about food, Jupiter signifies sweets, and these people have a big sweet tooth, and that can easily cause them to gain a lot of weight. And they must, since the early life, since the adolescence, or even since childhood, their sweet eating habits should be controlled, because that is one thing they find very difficult, and which in future can lead to many diseases, because Jupiter is aspecting the 6th house. 6th house shows the kind of diseases you may encounter. So obviously other influences on the 6th house matter a lot as well, but just this position, because it is in the 2nd house, from your eating habit you can develop problems in your life, and this could even be indigestion, because 6th house represents your intestines. Jupiter is a gaseous planet. What kind of problem? Gastric troubles, especially in the middle age, when Jupiter and Saturn matures in your life. The gastric trouble is very, very common. You can also develop a belly. 6th house shows your belly in the lower abdominal region. So please make sure you control your eating habit, and all this starts from here, from the 2nd place. But overall, this is a benefic placement which will bless you with a very good family, and also wealth. Jupiter is the Karaka or significator of wealth, and this position in the second house shows that you will earn wealth, or rather you will get wealth from your family. You will also get wealth from others, because this Jupiter has a direct aspect on the 8th house, which shows others' wealth. It shows money after marriage. This is the place of your wife's money and immovable properties as well. So invariably, people from this placement gets a lot of benefit or a lot of material gains after marriage. And same way with their work. Jupiter has a direct aspect on the 10th house, and 10th house directly relates with your work and also how people perceive you in the world. So because of this strong aspect of Jupiter, which also happens to be the lord of the 5th house. 5th house is something which comes easy and naturally to you. It is the house of your Purva Punyas. So you excel in your work life, your name, you are known for your ethics, and generally you have a good name around. But remember, for all these nice things to happen, this Jupiter should be free from any malefic influences, especially any planets like Rahu or Ketu. If they have direct association with this Jupiter, then this interpretation would change a little bit. Now let's talk somewhat about the 6th house, because Jupiter has this aspect on the 6th. And anywhere Jupiter aspects, it increases the signification of that bhava or house. Now 6th house though has some of the negative significations, like it shows the obstacles you're going to face in life, or your enemies, or kind of diseases you could encounter. So we already saw you have to be careful about what you eat. Similarly, diabetes, that's a very common area which people with this placement can contract. In fact, there is a possibility that diabetes flows in your family, because Jupiter is in the 2nd house. Any affliction, especially here, could mean that you have a history of diabetes and you need to be careful about. Obstacles. Jupiter in this placement has a very peculiar result. First, it gives you enemies. It will give you obstacles because it has an aspect on 6th. And second, because it is such a benefic planet, it will help you overcome them also. So it is not that you will have a resistance-free life. No, there will be many people who will suddenly crop up, and they would be, people who are highly placed, people who are highly learned, who might oppose you many times. And this can also happen because of the tendency of speaking very highly of yourself. See, Jupiter in this house gives you a big tendency where you always speak very highly about yourself, and this can be construed as arrogance by others, and that's when they might start opposing you. So developing humility, at least in your speech, is very necessary when you have this kind of placement. But other than that, this position of Jupiter here is very well known to impart multiple benefits in pleasures in one's life. So my friends, this was my quick analysis of Jupiter in Sagittarius for Scorpio Ascendant. I hope you liked this video. Please do subscribe to my channel and share this video. And please continue watching for more interesting videos like this. Thank you again for watching, and see you again soon.